Now, for the first segment of our package this evening, we're heading outside, given that the curfews and other COVID containment measures have been lifted, which will result in heightened activities across the country. Our reporter, Kalisha Williams, is live in Port Henderson in Portmore, St. Catherine. Kalisha?
Thanks, Janella. So the question this weekend is to party or not to party. Well, I spoke with the local government minister, Desmond McKenzie, today, and his response to that question was in the negative.
In the news of the reopening of the entertainment sector. Minutes after Prime Minister Andrew Holness made the announcement, party flyers started to circulate. But speaking in Portmore today, local government minister Desmond McKenzie says not so fast.
Previously, before COVID, you have to make your application prior to the event. So the application process involves the police, it involves the municipal corporation. So the application is a 10-day window. 10-day window. So I hear a lot of persons going around saying, well, the gate fly.
Meaning no permits would have been granted to host parties and other entertainment events this weekend.
There are going to be a whole heap of party. Some we are going to shut them down. I can say that without fear of contradiction.
In his presentation on Thursday, Prime Minister Andrew Holness had indicated that while entertainment events will be allowed, venues can only operate at 70% capacity.
And the 70% of the venue can only be determined after the municipality inspects the venue. So these are not new measures. These measures existed before, but we didn't sort of put in a percentage of the venue. The venue has to be inspected and passed and be fit and proper for use.
Mr. McKenzie says some Jamaicans love to party and people have been going above and beyond with illegal events. But he stressed that the process must be followed.
And in my own constituency, I have to endure the agony and the pain and the cuss out of my constituents, because I have been very severe on them.
I understand there have been parties in your constituency.
But I have been very severe on them. When I say severe, I mean severe. Take away the liquor, take away the sound, even lock up some of them.
So persons are now being urged to apply for the requisite permits at the respective municipal corporations. Mr. McKenzie also reminded stakeholders that for the next 6 months, there will be a discount of 50%.
Now, Janella, as you would imagine, public health experts have been weighing in on the lifting of the COVID containment measures. Shamela Pullen has more.
Jamaica continues to see a drastic decline in COVID-19 cases as well as the positivity rate. As such, public health experts say they were expecting some changes to the measures. But on Thursday, the Prime Minister lifted the restrictions under the DRMA. The public health experts argue that they are not in full agreement with that move.
The challenge I have is that the measures were dispensed with in one go, which makes it appear that the pandemic is over. And that, I think, is a point that needs to be made, that it is not. We're operating in a space in which the virus still exists.
Travel, with respect to pre-testing 3 days prior to travel, I do not agree. I think it should be reduced to 1 day prior to travel.
The health experts argue that while the pandemic is nearing its end, it is not over. They say a new variant can emerge anytime.
The spread of COVID has been fairly predictable. Once we've seen spikes in certain places, it has led to worldwide spread. And we are no exception to that. So what we're seeing in China and in Europe, it's entirely possible that we could find ourselves on the receiving end of that in another few weeks.
Omicron, BA1, has essentially replaced Delta. Recently, a variant of Omicron has emerged called BA2. But the interesting thing about BA2 is that it really does not affect those who have been infected with BA1. It primarily affects the unvaccinated and the elderly, especially as seen in Hong Kong and New Zealand.
Both Dr. Nemard and Dr. Bailey are of the view that the Prime Minister needs to elaborate more on infection prevention control.
In my opinion, those should remain in place, especially at the workplace and in schools and in places like churches, because those places can become super spreaders. And so infection prevention controls must be maintained, and especially at the workplace, they should be audited to ensure that they're complying with appropriate regulations.
I know people think that we're just being, wicked and cruel in wanting to keep things shut down and, fighting against sectors of the society. It's not that. We hurt too when we see people die. And particularly in an environment in which we're not able to help them because the nature of the disease is what it is.
The doctors are also concerned about the country's vaccination program. Now that the COVID-19 containment measures have been lifted, there's a view that the interest in taking the COVID-19 vaccine will further dwindle. But given the likelihood of other strains, they urge Jamaicans, especially healthcare workers, to take the jab. Shamela Pulen, TVJ News.